as the movement expands around the world, we're going to need to be more aware of the technical issues involved in doing business in various countries. If we don't master that, then if you don't get the facts will get you. And then there are two others, Seppo Kanerva, who lives in Finland, and George Nicholson DuPont, who lives in Paris. And then we have associate trustees and trustees emeriti, who are advisors and who serve for limited terms. The trustees are appointed for life, and if one of them leaves for one reason or another, then they elect another member. The associate trustees don't get anything either. So we're always looking for new associate trustees. If you really want to get into deep water, come and see Mo or Richard. The major work that we're doing these days at the foundation is translating and publishing the book. I forget, maybe 12 translations right now, which we just published the Italian book, Il Libro di Urantia, and we're having trouble distributing it. It appears to be a tough nut to crack, finding how to distribute books in Italy. Last year we published a German book, which was no problem at all. The Germans are really right with it. They're distributing it, paying their bills, and are very organized. So we have a French book, which is, I think, our first translation. Wasn't it? Well, if you count the Czech Vice translation.
What?
The French.
Yeah, French was 62.
62. And we have a Finnish translation. You might wonder why Finnish? Well, the Finnish did their own translation, and our president is Finnish. So the Finnish are a really amazing group of people. Small but strong. And tenacious. Living up there as far north as they do. We have a Spanish translation, which is our second best-selling after English. We have a Dutch translation, which isn't selling at all. We have a Russian translation, which sells very well in Russia. I was talking to some people at lunch at what a complicated situation we have in Russia now, because they're starting to crack down on groups again, religious groups, and the Russians in Moscow apparently now are reluctant to meet in large groups. But the book sells well. We have a Korean translation, which isn't doing that well. We have a Lithuanian translation, which we have one very valiant and bookstore owner in Lithuania who actually seems to be having some success now selling the book there again. Then we have Romanian and Portuguese that are on CD-ROM, and we hope to be publishing the Portuguese by early next year. Going to be republishing the German, and after we translate a book, then we start on revising the translation because it's never good enough. So besides paying for translations, we need to pay for publishing and distributing books, which is an expensive process. And we sold over 600,000 Urantia books since 1955 when it was published, and more than half of those were sold in the last 10 years. So in fact, if it seems to you that things are going slowly, if you look at it from that point of view, I think that they're going actually really well. The book is now, since it's approaching the 750,000 mark, the book is actually in the probably the top, at least 5%, if not 1% of all books. Most books don't get anywhere near 1 million, and will probably reach 1 million by the end of this decade. The problem is that if we were to be, at least the problem that I've started to think about is if we're really successful, if the book, Oprah Winfrey was to talk about the book or something like that, and suddenly it was like Harry Potter, we obviously couldn't handle that. The whole movement couldn't handle it. We would have to say, please wait a minute while we figure out where to get money to publish the book or try to sell it to somebody. And I mean, obviously that sounds kind of fantastic, but I think a lot of times Urantia book readers wonder why this isn't in the world. Why isn't everyone, why isn't it like Harry Potter? It's a good question, actually. I think it's better than Harry Potter. But but in any case, apparently not that many other people do. But when I see where we are as a movement, and I mean all of the groups actually now, since the book isn't in copyright, the English anymore, that we have another publisher, but if you add what they're doing and what we're doing, actually, we still couldn't handle Oprah, that's obvious. If we are too successful, what I have to be careful about is that all the hidden costs are also covered by raising money. So for me, it always gets back to, it took me a while to get comfortable with this, but basically, I'm always asking people for money, and I've gotten now I'm totally unashamed about it. Then I'm very moved at how generous people are, and how the wonderful messages and notes that we get, and the kind of responses that people have to how their money helps move this revelation along. And my feeling is that we're doing really well. We're right where we should be. We can always do a little more, we can always do a little better, and we need to keep chipping away at that. But we're growing organically. It's evolution, not revolution. And so we just want to keep moving along and looking forward more than backwards is another one of my themes. What's next, not what happened 10 or 20 years ago.